Welcome to the Sellernomics Podcast, where we share valuable tips and information in the Amazon and e-commerce space. Each week, we deliver the best interviews with some of the top Amazon personalities in the industry to help you grow your business. Today's episode is brought to you by Getita, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getita.com/Sellernomics. And now, here are your hosts, Rob Stanley and Lisa Kinski.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Sellernomics. We got another good one today. Lisa, wow, we just keep racking up these amazing guests. Absolutely incredible.
I know. It definitely is. It's a strong start to the new year. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So listen, we got a really good one. I'm going to first tell you what we're going to be talking about today. Organic optimization and tools every Amazon seller should use. That's a big task. Like there's a lot involved there. So, and I know we brought the person to definitely answer that. So why don't we get Peter from ROI Swift into the studio here. Peter, how you doing?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely
great.
Amazing.
Awesome to have you.
We are absolutely, I need to shift him around there. We're absolutely looking forward to this. This is a big task, talking about organic optimization and tools every Amazon seller should use. Start us off here. I mean, do we start first with ads, or you know what? Why don't you tell us about ads? I mean, that's usually a big topic. Why don't you give us some information on, why is it not all about these ads and stuff? Or is it? Maybe it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, David. I mean, Amazon advertising super important, but I always feel like the organic piece just gets, shuffled to the side by a lot of people. You watch a lot of things on LinkedIn, a lot of, all the groups, there's always just all this information about ads and all this information about how to structure your ads and what metrics matter. And here's all these reports you should be looking at. And this topic just always seems to get shunted aside. And at ROI Swift, we do a lot of assessments for potential clients, and we take a look at people's accounts and look at what opportunities they are. And it's the organic is always the side that I'm like, wow, there's just so many things that we're missing here. So it's not all about ads. I mean, the advertising is super important, but it's a way to help build your organic. It's a way to help build your audience. And if you're not taking care of your organic, then you're just going to have to keep paying for your customers. Organic is how you increase your ROI. You increase the amount of traffic you're building up and the audience that you're building up without having to continue paying for it. So, when we say organic optimization, there's, it sounds like something simple, but there's so many pieces to it. So there's Amazon SEO, there's making sure your listing's right, making sure your copy is right, looking at your imagery, looking at, all the different tools that Amazon has, the marketing tools. So, the common things that we see all the time is people just not looking at their listings properly. They look at they spend the bulk of their time looking at their advertising and tweaking advertising and launching this new campaign. And, I need to create a video campaign and all this. And then they sort of ignore what's happening on the page, on the detail page. So that's where we like to go. That's honestly where we like to go first when we talk to new clients, when we bring them on, is let's get your page retail ready. Let's get your page at the top of its game and then continue to push traffic to it through ads. So go ahead.
Why do you think it is that sellers are ignoring the organic growth portion of this?
Yeah, I think it's just, there's so many pieces to it. It's very complex. Advertising, it also depends on what kind of a person you are. I mean, we have people on our team, they love data, and so they're great with ads. And we have people who are very creative. And so they're great with the organic side. And so I think, if you're a very data-driven person, you're going to be drawn towards the ads most of the time. And then the creative side does take there's just so many aspects to it. So there's copy, there's looking at the back end SEO. What keywords are you putting in the back end? Are you filling everything out in the back end that you should be? are your images right? It's not just about having 5 or 6 images on your page, but the right 5 or 6 images to actually teach people about your product.
So
And I think those are the things that people sort of bypass. But
yeah, I was gonna say, tell me if I'm off base here, but it seems like, there's certain aspects of like brand awareness and marketing that maybe some more data-driven folks see as superfluous or unnecessary. So the organic approach, while it will make the business more profitable in the end because you're having to spend less money on ads, it almost just seems easier to throw money at it and bump up that ranking because the organic approach will take too long. Is that kind of the mindset of sellers? It's like, oh, that's too much time when we could just buy some more ads and be good to run with what we've got.
yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, the organic side is the longer play because it's not going to happen overnight. And certainly, I'm not advocating for not using ads. I think ads are super important, but I think having the organic built out is what helps those ads, number one, perform better. If you're targeting a bunch of keywords and you don't have them anywhere in your listing, you're going to be paying a lot for those keywords and may never actually rank for them very well. So if you're not walking hand in hand with ads and organic, then you're sort of working against yourself. So yeah, certainly advertising is the way to grow and grow fast. Organic is the way to grow profitably. And I think that's, at least with all the sellers that we work with, that seems to be the way people are moving. It's not just about blowing up my ad spend, blowing up my sales as fast as possible. Some people do that and they want to grow their sales really fast and then exit. But there's also a ton of brands out there that they just want to see that solid, profitable growth, month over month over month. And the organic is how you hold on to that. And how you tweak your organic and how you change that is how you can lead to faster growth through organic. But, tweaking images, helping your conversion rate increase, doing better SEO so you get more discoverability across a wider array of keywords, and then advertising, you come in behind and push on that so you can target specific keywords and target specific things to help you grow. So
Peter, you mentioned keywords.
Mhm.
When they're putting together their ad, whether it's the title or the description, sometimes they'll put in that keyword or a specific keyword, maybe a little bit too much, or they're putting too many of the keywords, almost like they're stuffing it, right? Keyword stuffing, I think, is what they refer to it as. What's your kind of thought on that? Like, you still want those keywords in there, but where is that sort of happy medium, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, I would say if your title reads like a word salad, then you're probably keyword stuffing a little too much. So,
I love
it. Yeah, I mean, we get this a lot. We do see a lot of like keyword stuffing where people just like, here's all the top keywords that I want, and I'm going to put them all in my title to make sure that that Amazon catches those first. That's the very first thing that Amazon typically looks at is your title. So put it in there, but then it's completely unreadable, and it just kind of takes away from your listing a little bit. So our approach is we want to keep those top keywords, but we want to focus. Not all keywords are alike. Sometimes it's better to go after. It's not always about going after the most searched keyword. Like, hey, this has the most search volume, I definitely want that in there. But maybe it might be really expensive to go after that keyword. So certainly you want that in your listing. But maybe there's several long tail keywords that you can absolutely dominate. And that's where you start. Dominate these longer tail keywords, dominate those both on organic and ads. And then you build up to the larger volume. So yeah, keyword stuffing is you want your titles, you want your bullet points to be readable. You don't want them to just be keyword after keyword after keyword. It sort of takes away from your listing and makes you look, it doesn't make you look like, a business or a company or a brand that's trustworthy. It takes away from that. You want people to be able to read and understand what you're trying to get to, and not just using it exclusively for SEO. If you want to put do a lot of keyword stuffing, there's a lot of places in the back end that you can do that and not have to worry about readability. So
Yeah, I've definitely seen some listings as a shopper on Amazon where they got really carried away with that title keyword stuffing. And it turns me off to buying because, that's you clearly, I only got directed to your listing because you hit one of the keywords, gift for 2-year-old boys, because I've got a bunch of nephews, but it also says 8-year-old and 10-year-old and 14-year-old. Whatever is for a 14-year-old is not for my 2-year-old nephew. I'm sorry.
Right.
And I think that the sellers get so caught up in, sometimes, not all, but it can happen where they are so focused on making Amazon and the algorithm happy that they can maybe forget about the readability for the actual person buying their product on the other side. And that's
Right.
unfortunate. And I liked what you said before, or it sparked a thought about maybe they're wanting to put a bunch of money into ads and get their ranking as high as they can right before an exit, right? But a lot of these aggregators, if they're looking to exit to an aggregator, are getting a lot more sophisticated in their evaluation of brands. So even though organic growth is the long play, I do think that it's worth it to, one, make your business more profitable in the long run, and two, you're going to have a more sturdy brand to sell to that aggregator or whomever it may be, because they'll be able to compare apples to apples. Okay, this guy's spending how much in PPC? Well, this is really solid. If we just bolster it, this is going to be super successful. So all that to say, I am on board with organic growth right now, Peter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time where companies come in and it's like, 70, 80, 90% of their sales are coming from ads. And as soon as we see that, we're like, wow, opportunity. Okay, let's, we could make you so much more profitable if we can get that number down under 50%, where most, half of your sales are coming organically. That gives you so much back to then push into growing your brand, whether it's on Amazon or in other places. But, if you're spending so much ad dollars on just bringing in as many sales as you can, how are you keeping those customers long term? How are you going to keep that discoverability if some other big company comes in and they start outbidding you? You're finished if you don't have the organic. If 90% of your sales are ads, and then a competitor comes along and says, well, we're going to make a huge push, we're going to put a bunch of dollars behind this, and suddenly all your sales are gone, because you can't keep up with the cost per click, profitably. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing, that's overlooked in the Amazon seller community, I think, is letting ads get carried away and not taking care of your organic.
Peter, so I mean, you brought up a couple of good points here with like the keyword stuffing and things like that. Why don't we kind of maybe have you go over some more common issues that you've seen, but we're going to do that right after a quick commercial break from our sponsor.
Today's episode is brought to you by Getida, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at Getida.com/Sellernomics.
Yeah, so be sure to head on over to Getida.com/Sellernomics. Get that free $400 in FBA reimbursements. Today, we're talking with Peter from ROI Swift about organic optimization and tools every Amazon seller should use. Just before the break, we were kind of discussing some of the like keyword stuffing and some of these other issues that Peter has seen and his team has seen. But I'd like him to elaborate a little bit more, kind of give us maybe like your top three, and I guess keyword stuffing could be one if it happens to be. But Peter, why don't you give us, a few more common issues that you see that maybe sellers should avoid when they're getting started?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's getting started or even long-standing companies, I mean, we've seen, we do tons of assessments of brands, and whether they're doing $10,000 a month on Amazon or $1 million a month on Amazon, we see these issues crop up across the gamut. So, but I would say the biggest ones that we see are it is that sort of not optimizing your titles and bullet points. It's not making sure that you're putting the proper keywords in there. It's, bullet points that have 2 or 3 words in it, or the opposite, where you have bullet points that are just so long that it's just this huge jumble of this giant paragraph for every bullet point, and both are not ideal. You want solid bullet points that have the keywords. You want a title that's succinct, readable, but also carries the keywords you care about. Another big one is imagery. We see so many people come in with, potential clients come in with images that, they may have one or two images and that's it, or they're not using video, which video, especially nowadays, is just more and more important. More and more people, they want to watch videos in order to learn about the product. The same thing with images. I always tell people the bullet points, the titles, those are really important for your discoverability. They're important for, Amazon's bots to crawl and find you. But when it comes to conversion, it's all about imagery. If you're not telling your brand story, if you're not explaining the pain points that you're fixing with your product, if you're not explaining to the customer why they should purchase your product in your images, there's a pretty good chance they're going to move on to somebody else. And that's one of the top things that I see. Imagery across the board, whether it's your top product detail page images, or if you're not using A+ content, not using brand story. Those are some of the top things that we see people come in and they're not using them, or they're not using them effectively.
So where do you recommend that the sellers start with the optimization? Because from a buyer's perspective, I definitely go images first, right? And then if the image doesn't answer my question, I'm popping right over to those bullet points to see if it says, the
Right.
exact dimensions of the item, or certain functionality, like for an induction cooktop stove, like how many speeds, what's the top temperature, things like that. So is that the order you recommend, or like for SEO purposes, maybe the opposite? Where do you advise that they start?
Actually, it depends on what your issue is, or what your goal is. For example, if your conversion rate's really solid, you have 20-25% conversion rate, really solid, then your goal is to drive traffic. You want more traffic to the listing because you're converting well. So let's drive more traffic. That includes looking at all of your titles, your bullet points, making sure you're getting those keywords in, looking into your back-end fields to make sure that you're pulling in all the different filters options that Amazon has, that you're filling out those fields in the back end to get those filter options so people can find you. So yeah, if conversion's your problem, or if your conversion's really good, you should focus on your copy first, because that's how you increase your discoverability. If your problem is conversion, if your conversion's 3-4%, then that's where I would focus first, is your imagery, because people aren't getting the information they need to convert. Either that, or there's always the chance that you're just driving a bunch of junk traffic with ads, and certainly that's something to look at. But it definitely throws up a red flag to me that, hey, your images you're not selling people. They're not getting what they need from your images, or from your listing to be able to make the decision. And so that images are the first place I would start with, that, followed very closely with a video to explain your product, explain what it does, explain how you help, and then that will help increase your conversion much better than just the bullet points alone. So
yeah, Peter. So I'm gonna give you a little scenario, because I'm sure this happens, right? So seller gets in there, they only do a couple photos, maybe they get a decent SEO title, a few bullet points, and let's say it's a kind of a unique product and it sells really well. And they're putting a bunch of PPC into it also. Let's just throw that in there, right? For this scenario, things are going good. They're selling a lot. Like, what is kind of the long-term possible issues of not growing that organic, or really focusing on making sure that organic is done correctly, versus, hey, I'm selling and it's doing well and my PPC is working? Like, what's the drawbacks? What can happen, in a scenario like that?
Well, I think there's two things. One is opportunity cost. What are you leaving on the table by not optimizing on your organic? And the other is what I mentioned earlier, which is, if your ads are humming and everything's good, but then your ads stop humming, new competitor moves into the space. If you don't have that organic, sort of backlog and built up, then you're going to lose a big chunk of your revenue. If you have that organic, if organic is 40-50% of your revenue, then you're at least protecting a pretty good chunk. And then opportunity cost, you may not realize how much you're leaving on the table by not optimizing that. There may be a whole host of keywords that you could potentially win on and rank for and get on page 1 across a whole host of different keywords versus, just the ones you're dominating in ads. So that's where I would say, and you can test for that. That's the great thing about Amazon is they have the manage experiments tool where you can test titles, you can test bullet points now, you can test your images, you can test your A+ content. So that's where we go when we have a product that's things are running smoothly. We're seeing a pretty consistent curve going up. Great. It starts to level out a little bit. Okay, let's see what we can test. What can we go try out? And the tests that we've done, it's really interesting to see even just small changes, how big of a difference they can make. We tested for this one. It's a triathlon brand, and they sell these triathlon shorts. And so we literally all we tested was their main image. It was a straight on image of the shorts, and we tested just putting them at like a 45-degree angle. Let's just see how this does. And they saw this huge change, like huge increase in their click-through rate, this huge increase in their sales and their conversion with just that one little change. We got so much more traffic coming to that listing. And then we turned around and we're like, okay, this really worked for the men's shorts. So let's try it for the women's. We tried it for the women's, exact opposite. It was worse. It didn't work as well. So we were okay. Well, now we know. So those are the tests that we like to run. And it's amazing how that manage experiments tool, you run that for 6-8 weeks or more if you have time, and Amazon will tell you, hey, this is working better, and you can see by exactly how much, and if it makes sense, okay, let's just make the change. So that's what we like to do as we scale and grow and get beyond, if you get all that initial work done, you've got the images, you've got the A+ content, you've sort of got all the table stakes, all the stuff that has to be done, then you just start testing. Let's see what happens if we may change this or move this around or swap these bullet points, all sorts of things that you can test.
You segued so beautifully into the second portion of this episode about what tools every Amazon seller needs to use. Could you speak a little more about that you said experiments or experience?
Manage experiments.
Manage experiments tool. Is that exclusive for brands that have brand registry?
Yep. Brand owners only. But it's a great tool. Amazon started it out. It was just a few things you could test, like titles and the main image. And now they've expanded. They included A+ content. And now you can do bullet points as well. So it's a great way to A/B test all sorts of data. I mean, I know there's other tools out there, sort of third-party tools like PickFu and stuff like that, where you can crowdsource things, but this is Amazon direct data. So it's really solid data that you can work from. There's obviously some things that you want to do and don't do. You always want to, with experiments, obviously you want to run one A/B test at a time. You don't want to test a title and an image test at the same time. But and have a good hypothesis when you're testing. This is another big mistake I see is people just sort of throw in tests, and I'm just going to throw this in there and test out. Like, look at what you're trying to gain. What are you trying to solve for? So going back to what I was saying before, Are you trying to solve for conversion, or are you trying to solve for traffic? Okay, so if you're trying to solve for traffic, then test out different bullet points, test out a different title. See if you can increase your discoverability by changing some things around. Maybe you move this keyword up closer to the front of your title. Maybe you remove this keyword and put a different keyword in there. Maybe you move around your bullet points a little bit or change some things here and there to see if that makes a difference. And then run those tests and watch them, and then make the change based on how the test goes. So, okay, what I tested worked, so I'm going to implement that. But don't just leave it there. Don't just, okay, Amazon said this one was better, I'm going with that one, and then you walk away. Implement it, and then double check your metrics. Watch it for the next several weeks and make sure that it continues to grow and continues to do well. So yeah, those A/B tests are fantastic too. I love the managed experiments tool. It's how we build a lot of our best practices.
Absolutely.
What kind of A+ content should you have? What should your main image look like? So a lot of those tests help us build out best practices that we tell people. So.
Yeah, Peter. So you've kind of mentioned a couple of tools there, and it sounded like that one. That's from Amazon, right? That you're doing some of that testing with that you just mentioned. So
yeah, managed experiments. Yeah,
managed experiments. So what other tools do you recommend, or is there any other tools that you guys maybe use that benefit sellers, Amazon sellers?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon has so many tools. Again, it depends on what you're looking for, but the managed experiments is a great A/B test tool. Other organic focused stuff, meaning stuff you don't have to pay for, are things like Amazon posts and customer engagements. Those are two other tools that you can use, and you don't have to pay for them. They come, as long as you're brand registered, you can use them. So Amazon posts is essentially like having your own Instagram feed on Amazon. So you can post up images of your products. You can actually link to the product detail page in the post. Those posts show up on your Amazon storefront. They also pop up on the detail pages. So as you scroll down detail pages on your own products, it'll show up like from this brand, and it'll show some of your posts. But some of your posts may even show up on competitor ASINs. So, you're sort of missing out on free exposure if you're not using Amazon posts. I do wonder a lot, just the way posts are and the metrics that Amazon's providing for those. So you can see how many people are clicking and engaging with them. You can see how many people are clicking to detail pages. It gives me the hint that at some point they're probably going to be monetized, where you can do like a sponsored post. We'll see how that shakes out, but for now it's completely free, and it's a great way to get additional exposure for your brand, get more discoverability. People searching, they're looking at somebody else's product, and all of a sudden they see this really cool lifestyle image of your brand. They click on the post, and next thing you know, they're shopping your products. So
is
definitely
posts,
something you have to use.
Is post just for static images right now?
Right now, it's just static images. Yeah, it's.
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to. I assume they're going to expand to video and or GIFs or anything like that in the future.
I would think so. Just considering how powerful the TikTok made me buy it, kind of hashtag is, and I mean how powerful TikTok is in general as a tool and as a platform. I feel like it would just behoove Amazon to expand posts, or if they call them, I mean, they can't use shorts. YouTube took that one, but some sort of short form video posting to do these quick demos or different application. I guess those are still demos, but the short form video. I wonder if that is also to come. That would be interesting to see, and I think it would benefit them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got a lot to. Amazon's trying to build practically a social media aspect of Amazon. They just keep doing it more and more. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that kind of a change come. Right now they already have a sort of videos feed on detail pages that includes your videos and products similar to yours, which is why we tell people don't just have one video, have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 if you can. That way you can get as many of those slots in the video, in that video feed as you can. But,
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot going on here. So we have a little bit more we need to cover. We are going to take a quick break in a second, but when we come back, we have a couple more topics we want to cover. We definitely want to talk to Peter a little bit more about maybe some reviews, maybe how those affect your page, your ranking, and things. He's going to let us know what it affects. How about that? And then we're going to also dive into absolutely my favorite topic, and that is driving off page to your Amazon listing, like what you need to do to drive target or traffic basically to your listing from off Amazon. Right after this quick break from our sponsor.
Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at Getita.com/Sellernomics.
So yeah, be sure to head on over to Getita.com/Sellernomics. Get that free money, $400 in free FBA reimbursements. Today we got Peter from ROI Swift, and we're talking about organic optimization and tools every Amazon seller should use. Right for the break, first thing we want to dive into is reviews. So how are reviews important for these Amazon sellers, and kind of what effects do they have, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, reviews that's your lifeblood on Amazon. Everybody wants to know how to get more reviews. There's certainly a lot of black hat and gray hat tactics out there. I don't recommend any of them. Amazon will catch you and they will shut you down. But there are a lot of great ways to get reviews, and then not only get reviews, but leverage those reviews, particularly for the organic optimization, which we've been talking about. So, obviously you can do review requests. There is the request a review feature that Amazon has that you can use. You can request reviews through Amazon legally. There's also the Vine program where you can, for newer products, you can get up to 30 reviews, where Amazon will take some of your inventory, send it out to their Vine reviewers, and you can get reviews that way. That's a great way to get, especially for new products, reviews very quickly. But then beyond just getting the reviews, it's using them to your advantage. So as you get these reviews and bring more and more of them in, it's important to go look at them, look at what people are saying about your products. There's been so many times where simple things that people are talking about in the reviews, you can make simple changes. What comes to mind is we have a clothing brand that a lot of people were saying in the reviews, like, I bought the large, but it was too big, or I bought the medium, it was too small. And, so we're like, okay, so this is a problem we need to go look at. And so we worked with them. Okay, let's make sure that people know how to get the right size. So we added an image that went over how to size. We added a video that went over how to get the right size. We even added like a PDF guide for people to make sure they get the right size to the page. And after we did that, those reviews really started slowing down. We didn't see as many of them after that. So that's one thing that reviews are absolutely essential for, is product feedback. How can you make your product better, or how can you explain your product better so people don't have as many questions, so they don't have to go to the Q&A, so they don't have to dig through hundreds of reviews to find the answer. So there's tons of tools, like Helium 10 has a great tool that you can use to analyze reviews and things like that. But it's looking for keywords. What are people saying a lot about your listings? And then once go add those to your listing. Make sure you're explaining that. Create an image about it. Create a video about it. Address issues that people have had with your products. Or highlight the benefits that people are talking about. So many times customers start talking about a benefit that they're like, oh, I love this aspect about the product. And they're like, well, that's not even something we even thought of in our marketing. So maybe we should add that. And then beyond that, it's also great for keyword research too. In reviews is, hey, a lot of people are saying this specific thing about they're using this keyword over and over again in reviews. So let's make sure that's in our listing, and then also make sure we're targeting on our ads. Because if customers are talking about it in their reviews, if they're saying it in their reviews, then people are searching for it. So those are great ways to get those reviews to work for you, and not just as social proof, but as a way to make your product better and make your product pages better.
Yeah, especially in women's clothing. Sorry, I've just got to point it
No,
out.
you're good.
If an apparel brand doesn't have a size chart in their images, I'm pretty much not going to buy it, because a medium can mean a 4 to 6, a 6 to an 8, or an 8 to a 10. And those are 3 very different sizes. It is so necessary. But yeah,
they do that with guys. They do that with guys also. I mean, it's same thing.
Because a 32 feels like it should be a 32. You guys at least use inches. We use these arbitrary numbers. Like,
let me tell you, I've ordered pants from different companies, and then I order the same size, and I get them in, and I'm like, this one's loose, this one's tight, and this one feels good. I'm like, come on, it can't be, it's just all.
How can they all be the same size?
Yeah, exactly.
The same size, unless it's jeans. The dark wash is always smaller. I don't know what it is. Dark washes are tighter. I don't know why, but that
pro tip from Lisa over here.
Pro tip: dark wash is going to be a little smaller.
Peter, I do have a quick follow-up question on the reviews, and this is probably just a quick one before we move on to some Amazon tactics to drive traffic. Vine, you were mentioning the Vine program. If I'm not mistaken, when a Vine reviewer goes on and leaves a review, it's usually marked Vine reviewer, meaning that somebody has got the product, they did a review on it. Have you seen that as a positive or negative, or it doesn't really matter because it's still a review and they're still leaving, information there? What's kind of your feel on that when you see that?
I see it as a net positive. I mean, there's certainly always the risk that you get negative reviews from Vine reviewers, but having that tag on there, I mean, it does say this reviewer got free product. This is a review of free product. But in my experience, the Vine reviews are generally the most detailed and interesting reviews for products. A lot of just the regular reviews, it might be like a sentence or two. Then you look at Vine reviews and it's like 2 paragraphs of all the things they loved about it and all the things they didn't like about it. And so it's a great tool, one, to get those reviews started, so that because the more reviews you have, the easier it is to get conversion, and especially in advertising. If you're advertising a product that has 0 reviews, your returns on that are going to be less than if you have 30 or 30,000. But so that's a big aspect of it. But then there's also just, you get that immediate feedback. Like right away, you're getting all these Vine reviewers who are writing like 2-paragraph reviews, and like, okay, we can get some really quick feedback on this new product that we're just taking to market. And we can take all that and start making changes to the detail page and start making things so that as more customers come in, the new customers that are actually paying for the product, we can identify, what pain points we might have before we even start selling to people who are paying for it. So there's a ton of reasons why Vine is a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And I don't think it's a negative. When I'm looking, I assume, that person got that product, they evaluated it, they left either a pro or cons or positive or negative feedback on it, or tell you what they the experience they had with it. Right.
Right.
Next topic, my favorite, and I don't mean to take this question away from Lisa, but
you're good.
Amazon, I love this topic. This is one of my favorites because I'm a big YouTube person. I grew my company from YouTube and everything before I sold it. Amazon tactics to drive traffic. Lay it on us. There's a lot there. We could probably take a whole nother 45 minutes talking about this if we wanted to. But Peter, give us kind of the high level. Have you seen? What seems to be working?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can do. At the top of the list, I will say, like, before you do anything with off Amazon traffic, is learn how to use Amazon attribution. So Amazon has this great program, came out a couple years ago. It's been getting better and better. Create attribution tags for your products, and then use those to figure out what's working. Create a bunch of different tags for a bunch of different methods. So whether you're using YouTube, whether you're using influencers, whether you're just posting on social media or doing email campaigns, however you're driving that external traffic, use those Amazon attribution UTM links so that you can see exactly what's working. That's a big thing that I see people do, is they might use the same link over multiple campaigns to drive external traffic. You're like, what? You don't know which one worked, so make separate ones. But influencers is a great one that I've seen. Obviously there's all these, like, I bought it on, or TikTok made me buy it, and things like that. And those are definitely great. But those are sort of hit or miss. You don't know. I mean, it might go viral on TikTok. It might just get a couple views and be done. But finding influencers is a great one to do. Finding people to write stuff about your product, post stuff about your product. We had a client just a few months ago. They had one of their products was featured in this really, like, highly trafficked blog, and in the space of like 3 days after it was posted on the blog, their sales like tripled those 3 days. And and they stayed high. Like, that product that was featured in that blog has continued to grow ever since that happened. So they have not only the initial big boost of being in this person's blog post and getting that initial traffic, we've been able to keep it growing ever since. So that's one of the big ones that I've seen work really well, is getting an influencer that has a very highly trafficked site or very highly trafficked social media, and getting it into their hands and letting them use their audience to drive that traffic. The important thing there, though, is making sure that you're finding the right influencers. That's the other thing. You don't want to just go out and find, they have 100,000 followers or 1 million followers, so I'm going to go talk to them. Well, maybe, but are the followers that they have in your market? What type of influencer are they? If they're not talking about anything in your category, then they're probably not going to help you that much. So you want to find influencers, even if they're smaller influencers. Go get 10 or 15 influencers that have 20,000 followers each, but they're really solid influencers in your market, in your category, and they have a huge following for products like yours. Those are the ones that you should be looking at. Even if they're smaller, that's fine. Just go find a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, because they usually have hyper concentrated audiences around a particular category or interest, especially a lot of, like, I hate to put them in a box, but like mommy influencers and stuff like that,
Right.
for small children products and, motherhood and pregnancy and all that stuff. Like, you kind of don't want like a gym bro repping that brand just because he has a million followers, right?
Right.
It's not going to work.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
maybe the dads will buy from him.
Right.
You never know.
And it depends on how you market it. Maybe.
I mean, just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, Peter, sometimes the ones that are up and coming or smaller, you're going to get more from them, right? They're probably going to be more willing to do something for you, go that extra mile. I think I've also seen was a lot of times they'll kind of just do it for the product because they need the content for their channels, right? No matter what social media they're on, they need that content. Go ahead.
Yeah. And the other thing too, with the smaller ones as well, is that, I mean, so here's another sort of tip that we've heard and seen done is Amazon has a brand referral bonus that they're giving out. Like, Amazon is so hungry for off Amazon traffic that they will give you money back to drive off Amazon traffic to Amazon. So they have a brand referral bonus where if you use attribution links, all the traffic that you drive or all the stuff that is purchased using those links, you get 10% back on your referral fees. So your referral fee might drop from 15%, which is the norm on Amazon, down to 5% for all the purchases made through that referral link. So number one, that's a huge savings. But also what we've heard people do is offer the influencers that 10%. Like, hey, we'll give you 10% of the sales. You're basically you're netting the same, because you're getting 10% back from Amazon. You're just giving it to them. They win and you win. So that's another great way to leverage influencers, using that brand referral bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, that has been some great information, but I want to spend a little time talking about ROI Swift, where you work, what kind of services you guys offer. I think it's definitely something that needs to be talked about. We talked about all these great ways to do it, but I'm sure ROI Swift probably could help you with this. So Peter, why don't you tell us a bit about ROI Swift, and then also be sure at the end to include how they get a hold of you if they want to follow up with more information or any questions regarding the topics we went over.
Absolutely. Yeah. ROI Swift, we're based in Austin, Texas. We've been around since 2015, helping brands in the sort of 3 to 30 million space. We cover 3 services, actually. We do Amazon management, we do paid search, and paid social. So we cover all 3. My team on the Amazon side, we have a team of 8 of us now. We just hired somebody last week, actually. So a new team member, which is great. But so we cover pretty much all things Amazon on our team. So all the things that I talked about today, all the organic optimization, we have a whole team for that. We also do the ads. So I know I said that, ads get talked about a lot. We have a great ads team too. So we do pretty much everything from top to bottom on Amazon. About the only thing we don't handle is physical inventory management, but everything else we work with and strategize with all of our partners to help them grow their business. With that strategic organic optimization from top to bottom, telling them exactly what images they need to create, what content they should be creating. Let's go redo all of your listings and get everything set up properly. And then obviously driving all the advertising to that. We also do offer a complimentary assessment. So if you're just curious about how you're doing, we have tons of people come to us and they're like, we just want to know if we're doing well or not. And we will do an assessment of your Amazon account, take a look and say, hey, here's some opportunity here. We've even worked with some brands where we're like, hey, you guys are killing it. This is really good. Keep doing what you're doing. If you want our help, we can certainly jump in and manage it for you, but you're doing great. So, and then, of course, we have a lot of people that we work with and say, okay, here's all the opportunity. Here's all the things that we can help you with. And so we just love helping these smaller brands and help people get launched and grow on Amazon. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
So we're going to throw it up on the screen. Anybody who's listening, ROI Swift, ROISWIFT.com. And if you need to get a hold of Peter to follow up with any questions that you want to ask from what you heard on the show, or you want to follow up with something, or heck, if you want to reach out for their services besides ROISwift.com, you can get a hold of Peter. It's PETER at ROISWIFT.com. Head on over there. Peter, it's great having you on the Sellernomics podcast. Absolutely brought amazing amount of information. I'm going to have to probably go back and listen to it. And by the way, when my head was down, I was taking notes because Amazon attributes or attributions. So I had to write
Amazon
that down.
Attribution. Yep.
Attribution. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go look that up because when I'm teaching sometimes my classes about tactics for driving traffic, I definitely want to make sure I include that in there. Amazing having you on. I really appreciate you taking your time to come on and share this great information regarding organic optimization and tools every Amazon seller should use. Thank you so much. We absolutely appreciate you being on.
100%. And thank you for choosing Sellernomics to be your first ever podcast. We're thrilled.
Yes.
We're thrilled to have you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate letting me come on. So.
Of course. Thank you, Peter.
Awesome. Well, everybody, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. And if you're listening to the podcast, we'd love that 5-star review. Be sure to leave that for us, and we'll be on again soon. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics Podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, Gatita. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at Getita.com/Sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business.